called Joseph Baba Ifa. Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the ushas through sacred lines. He speaks with the ancients, he honors the drum. He carries the wisdom where we all come from. Born in the land where
When you look at a practice such as Ifa, which is kind of what our podcast revolves around, you know, what were we doing 50,000 years before modern medicine? How were we surviving? How were we giving birth? How were we able to overcome some of these chronic malignant conditions that we deal with today that we're definitely going to get into further on in the interview? And you begin to realize in Africa and all these indigenous cultures, they were doing all right. And it was with these plants. It was with these natural resources that nature had provided. And, you know, all of a sudden, industrial revolution, maybe the Renaissance, a couple of things occur. And now we go from holistic to more of an allopathic, you know, where it's provided benefits as well. But, you know, there's some side effects there, too. So when you look at our, you know, concepts, especially with the 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃, who is the deity of the herbs and whatnot, to see that he was not only able to reverse all of these conditions naturally and with lifestyle changes, but then thrive upon them is really comforting as far as from a confirmational standpoint for people within our practice of Ifa, because it just furthers our legitimacy. You know, not that it really was ever in doubt based on results, but when you look at popular propaganda, you know, sometimes we might try to sway people away from the most cost-effective natural option versus the, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars that other things within the pharmaceutical industry can cost. So, Melao, welcome back, sir. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me back.
I tell you, my friend, your first episodes and interviews have done wonderfully. And, you know, it's so wild how destiny does a turn to where you're able to come back and provide so much enlightenment on this topic as well, speaking about Dr.Sebi. And, you know, how actually you were related to the gentleman. You know, we'd like to say thank you as well for, you know, bringing Miss Usha on and facilitating all of these things. You know, you're a friend of the channel. What were your earliest memories of this gentleman?
That's the same thing as Usha. It's just that, first of all, I have a really we have a huge family, and I when you asked this question of Usha, I started thinking about, you know, when was like my earliest memory, and then I realized I really don't have that much memories of any of my uncles and aunts, which is really bad. But I think like the earliest that I can remember was in my teens, and it was actually a conversation that he told me that just really hit hard. And one of the things he was like, oh, you're too nice, 𝘃𝗀𝗃𝗃. For some of you who don't know, my real name is 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃, but everybody calls me Melao. And so, of course, he called me by my real name. And he was like, you know, people nowadays, if you're too nice, they're going to eat you up and spit you out alive. And I was like, that's really hard to think, you know, because I lived in this world where everybody loved each other. And yes, there was, you know, violence or whatever, but for the most part, people were good. And decades later, I was like, this man was right. And, you know, so I think that when that conversation we had when I was in my teens, and I think it was one of those moments where it was a seed was planted and then it grew later on.
Absolutely. No, and you know, I've met other people. Like I have a godson named Tony that actually that has interacted with Dr.Sebi before his passing and whatnot. And I think one thing I noticed between speaking to him and hearing you guys talk about it, he had quite a sense of humor as well. Which is really comforting, you know, because when you think about something as serious like holistic medicine, you know, herbs, he's combating cancer, he's combating all of these, you know, intense conditions, you think the guy, you know, was serious the whole time in study and investigation, you know, but when you hear you guys kind of talk about him, you know, he sounded like he was quite a funny guy as well, and he was very down to earth and very real. Right, you know, from a fond standpoint, I mean, what's probably the funniest memory you have of him?
The funny
that we can talk about on camera, right?
um, uh, I'm gonna be honest. So, first of all, everybody has their different relationships with, with various family members, and he and I, uh, kind of like got along because he would tell me all of his his nasty jokes. And for me, that was one of the things that stuck out the most. I'm so sorry, I have to keep it real. And I realized that everybody kind of like puts him up on this pedestal, and for me, he was just that crazy hippie uncle, you know? And
Nice.
so my funniest memories I can't really say on camera. I'm
But there
so
was quite a
sorry.
few of them. Yeah, and that's really the point, you know. And to see men who accomplish so much in a lifetime and still able to be a point of happiness and joy to their family, whether it's a daughter, whether it's a nephew, what have you, to have that lasting impact to where we could still have that fondness of memory is really an attribute to the gentleman's legacy. At what point did you realize this uncle wasn't like the other ones? You know, that he was a little different, you know, with his accomplishments and whatnot.
Um, I would have to say it was probably after I came back from Honduras. So I lived in Honduras for a bit, there at the village. And the thing is I would see him and my aunt Pat like, only a couple times a year because I was in the Bahamas for a bit, and I was living in other countries. And then on top of that, when we came to Miami, it was like I would only see them here and there. And it wasn't until later on in life that I actually, like sat down and like spent hours and hours with them. And I'm so sorry. My mind totally went. What was your original question?
No, it was
Uh,
no, it's fine. It's too many memories. I mean, at what
yeah.
point, you know, maybe it was from these same conversations that you're
So, so,
mentioning.
so yeah. So when I came back from Honduras, and first of all, if you ever met Sebi, he was like totally down to earth. He wasn't, I mean, he was very, very passionate, but he didn't act like he was this famous person. So I really didn't have any idea that he was well known. Yes, I knew he traveled all over the world. Yeah, I know he did lectures. Yeah, yeah, he would have celebrity clients, da, 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 da. But again, very, very chill, very, very down to earth. You would have no idea that he was this is seen as such a big persona, and so for me that was just another uncle. um and it was when I was talking to one of my friends after I had came back from Honduras, and I said something about, yeah, I was in Honduras, and I was like, yeah, my uncle has a center there, da 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 da. And she goes, wait a minute, a center in Honduras? I was like, yeah. And she goes, would your uncle by chance be Dr.Sebi? And I was like, you know him. And she was like, Melao, he's famous. And I was like, no, he's not. I mean, yeah, he travels and does lectures or whatever, but she goes, look on YouTube. And so I looked on YouTube and he had all these videos, and I was like, that's when I actually called him. I was like, oh man, you're famous? And he goes, well, why are you calling me out the blue and ask me this question? I'm like, you have these tons of videos. He goes, yeah. I mean, you know this. I was like, I didn't know you were that big. And so that's when I realized. I was like, oh. But before, again, it was just another family member that was doing his thing and traveling and healing people. We have various healers in our family, so it was, for me, it was normal. And I remember even as a kid, I remember somebody was like, oh, somebody's mother has cancer. And I was like, oh, okay, that's no big deal. They could just do a program, and it'll be healed. And so, that's was my thinking at growing up. And then it was until later on that I realized that not many people knew about that knew about this. So that part was like sort of like, how do you say, uh was that part was uncommon, but I didn't realize until later on that he was that well known.
Incredible, right? Just the amount of humility and the amount of, you know, human empathy just to, towards existence and just being and living his truth, man. It really speaks volumes. Usha, I have some questions for you now. Being that, you're really still heavily in the field, and, there's a lot of things going on with public health right now that I'd like to get your opinions on, or possibly know what your father's opinions were on them, as well as, what were his greatest accomplishments in that area of health, and, what were some of his solutions possibly. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to pause right there because Phil has to do a commercial, and then I'm going to go ahead and get your answers on it and pose you the question, okay? Hey, family. This is Joseph Baba Ifa. Are you looking for a space to host your next event, a wedding, baby shower, something memorable? Well, we want you to consider one of our sponsors, Luna Hall and Studio, a beautiful event space located in downtown Orlando that has some great visuals for you to create all of those memories. Please be sure to check in the description for the link to know what our daily rates look like, or even 3 days at a time. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you there soon. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So Usha, cancer, right? It's the big C. It's something we're all afraid of and worried about, because it could have catastrophic impacts on the body. What were your dad's views on cancer? And, what was he able to identify as far as, a real legitimate, prevention of it or treatment of it?
I have no idea.
Awesome. Yeah, the
I'm so sorry.
reason.
I wish I could give you that, but I have absolutely no clue whatsoever. Dad went through the process of healing just doing so, not having a discussion about his opinion or how he saw this. It was, okay, let's give this, put these herbs together and give this gentleman these herbs, or give this woman these herbs, and they would take it and get better. And he's like, yeah, you're good. Okay, bye. And that was it. He never sat and had a discussion about his perspective of this, that, or the other. He just moved. He just did. My earliest experience with him in dealing with cancer, I was 15 years old and still very, very green. I didn't really understand all of it very well. But I remember there was this little girl, and she was the same age as me. And her mother came to our Chicago office, and the young lady was very sick. I believe it was liver cancer, if I'm not mistaken. And so she was very sick. She couldn't make it up the stairs. She couldn't eat. She was very skinny. You could tell she was really pale. At the time, I didn't understand that meant that her anemia was low. But you could just see that she was struggling through it. And so she couldn't make it up the stairs. Our office was upstairs, and she couldn't make it up the stairs. So my dad ran downstairs, and he picked her up and he carried her up the stairs and put her on the couch. And they started giving her Maya, they started giving her bolo. He made a few special herbs that he boiled for her. And by the time she left the office, her energy level was up. I'm not going to say she was able to make it down the stairs on her own, but she was able to just like lean on him and go down the stairs by the time she left. And then I remember her mom coming back every day, And by a week's, maybe 2 weeks time, um, they asked me if I wanted to go because she had a very large family, a lot of kids. And so they asked me if I wanted to go with them to go roller skating. And looked at my dad and I was like, "Can I go?" And he's like, "You could go." And the young lady was strong enough to go roller skating. That child that could not make it up the stairs, we were then able to go roller skating and just have like a normal moment of just having fun as teenagers. And I think that was the moment that I realized how important it was, the job that they were doing. I didn't really understand because prior to that, I was just like, this is my parents, this is what we do, okay, and I this is my contribution. Like I said, answering the phone, thanks for calling 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗄, how may I help you? And but at that moment, seeing what he was able to accomplish with the herbs that they created, um, that was my biggest moment. But he never talked about things, and this wasn't, "Oh, I was a child, so I didn't realize or didn't see." No, dad never in my entire life did he talk about things in that terms as to what he was doing, how it was affecting people, and how he wanted to affect people. No, he just knew help people.
Beautiful. Now, with your office and things like that, if you have somebody coming in that is dealing with cancer or, unregulated cell division, what action plan do you put them on per se? Like, what are those preliminary steps looking like as far as evaluations or recommendations possibly?
Oh, I go through a whole process of an intake form, and so I go over several questions that help indicate to me exactly how to design that package. I kind of have to go over your medical history and what you're going through, what you've gone through in the past, what your body's experienced, whether or not you're on any form of medication, at this time, and then determine the best course of action. We have several packages, but most packages for me, I design them based on what that person's specific needs are. But like I said, I do a full profile of that person, getting all of their medical history and what they're going through presently in the past, and whether or not they're on any form of medication, and then designing from there.
As much as you're able to divulge, are you noticing any commonalities now with recent cases? Like there's a certain pathology that a lot of your patients that are going through cancer or treatment are showing similarly? Like, are there certain behaviors and whatnot that may be leading them towards, ultimately being diagnosed and having to combat it?
No, no. I wouldn't say
Wow.
there's any particular thing that I can identify. I do know that I have a lot of recent cases, more and more cases of cancer as the days progress. I have more than I did before, and I took notice to that probably about 4 years ago. That it was just
Interesting.
escalating. But any particulars such as what you asked, no.
That is interesting because you mentioned about maybe 4.5 years ago, you think about COVID and all of the recent turn of events from a world health standpoint. So that is an interesting timeline. Now, another thing that has a lot of people, worried, especially parents and things like that, is the elevated rates of newfound cases of documented autism, right? Especially in children. And overall, signs of the mental health declination within, U.S. society. What are your thoughts on that? And what have you been able to identify within your practice as possibly a cause or what you think might help prevent it?
I have no idea what's causing it. There's a lot of speculation that heavy metals is a big factor to it, especially um, when it comes to like, certain things that we intake as children. And I'm not going to pinpoint or say those words. But certain things that are given to children, a lot of times there are heavy metals involved, mercury and things like that, that may be enhancing it. But I have so many cases where children did not intake those heavy metals and are showing signs of it. It's something that's very dear to my heart when it comes to autism and helping folks because I have friends and family. And so I couldn't tell you how to prevent it or what's causing it. We do use herbs to help minimize um, the experience. I would not say completely eliminate. I have yet to completely eliminate it. But I have used herbs that have helped minimize the effects of it, in the sense that children are able to connect more. They're able to um, be present, you know, and we do so by working with the central nervous system.
Now, as a parent, seeking advice and whatnot, what are some things I should entirely avoid my children consuming, based on your experience and research, to possibly avoid things like that altogether? Is there anything that's like an
Rice,
absolute no-no?
rice.
Okay.
Absolutely 100% stay away from rice. 100% stay away from soy, sugar. Those things I think have a real negative effect on children. Those were things that I didn't give my child at all. She's 27 years old now. Until this day, if you try to give her like a cookie or a cake or something, she's like, I don't want that. Because she did not grow up eating that. She didn't have any desire for sweets. I didn't introduce that to her at all. I'm sure in school later on, children, would say, oh, try this, whatever. But that wasn't anything that we consumed in the home. And when I watch children today, I see a lot of children affected heavily, especially by rice, arsenic that's in the rice, the fact that a lot of the rice that we're consuming is straight plastic. It's just, I just find it one of the worst things that we can consume.
It's pretty wild that you say that because, coming from an Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latin descendant background and household, that was pretty staple. I mean, when I started realizing how detrimental rice was on the body, I almost had a panic attack, to be frank with you, because, I came from a background where if we didn't have any protein in the house, it was pretty much rice with some gravy on top of it, right? So to hear that, especially now, educating myself more, trying to relay that information to my household and whatnot, and the positive effects that have come from eliminating it are pretty wild because, when you think about the emotional connection that we have to food, especially from an ancestral or ethnic standpoint, I think that's one of the most shocking things when it comes to, reorganizing your nutrition is understanding that, in some cases such as mine, the things that were introduced to you may not be the best thing for you. So I think that's a really key thing as well to relay to families and parents out there is you really have no obligation to food other than that which sustains you and actually helps you, because I think it's a two-faceted interpretation. One thing is we have a need to fulfill, but you don't want to eat something out of desperation to the point where it might take away hunger, but it's giving you much worse long-term effects. So I think the rice thing is a pretty big topic as well. And the effects of sugar, I mean, we've kind of always looked at it and been like, oh, wow, the random sugar rush. But to understand the profound effects that it has on the development of the child's brain, or even the long-term effects and how it can lead to, dementia and things like that, and the corroding of neuroreceptors is once again really scary. So how about fertility? Are you dealing with a lot of fertility cases? When you look at statistics, I mean, on paper, we're actually looking at global population collapse, ironically. So, have you had a lot of fertility cases? And for women that may be having difficulties to conceive, what recommendations can you give to them apart from visiting you, of course?
Absolutely, yes. We definitely have issues with fertility. I just want to touch back on the factor of rice and sugar.
Yes, ma'am.
Um, just so that that folks are educated. When you consume starch, especially starch that is as strong as rice, that breaks down to sugar, so you're having the same effects. Where are
Wow.
you from?
I was born in Miami. My grandmother was Cuban. Originally, my parents were born in New York, in Brooklyn, ironically. My mother's half Puerto Rican and Cuban. And then my father was Italian, or is Italian. So, there's rice over here, there's pasta over there. Really
Pasta,
scary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of starch. Yeah, and for most of us, most cultures, rice is a staple food. You know, how does that affect as far as fertility goes? Same way it affects anything and everything. Um, the starch factor, it breaks down and coagulates all kinds of different parts. It also affects the hormones. So when females are trying to conceive, there's less chance of that based on what our diets are. And so, yeah, rice will play a big part of that. Any white flour, anything, can kind of turn against us in that sense when it comes to fertility, because again, it breaks down to sugar, and affects the hormones, affects everything. So, do I see an uprise in cases of fertility? Yes, I do. Are we able to help these individuals? Absolutely. With a change of diet and making sure that you're consuming things that are in your benefit. So, putting in a little more alkalinity into the body is most beneficial. Clearing out those passages, those blockages. I have several clients in over the last 2 years that have been able to conceive. One lady who named their daughter after me. Thank
Wow.
you, appreciate it. And so we have excellent results with it. But yeah, it's all about changing the diet.
Well, I tell you, there's no greater review or reference than somebody, naming that which is most precious after you. So you had a huge effect on those people. So I'm sure that's very gratifying. Now, for those of us that are just learning about your father's concepts, your work, and whatnot, could you define what it is to be alkaline, and how does that benefit us as human beings?
So based on the information that he provided, our best number is reaching a pH balance of 7.5. And what that does is you don't want to be over alkalized, which some people seem to confuse. And there are a lot of people in the industry that says just do alkalinity, but you can't do that. You have to create a balance. 7.5 was creating that balance. And what that means is you want to make sure that you have enough vegetables. You want your pH balance to be at a nice level. You don't want to have too much acid and you don't want to have too much alkalinity, because both of those factors can turn on you in a negative way. So you want to be somewhere in the middle, right? Where you have enough acid that your stomach can build up the acid to break down food, and it continues to do so. Um, but not enough acid within the body that is going to prevent you from healing. You don't want to be over alkalized, because then the body doesn't produce enough acid to break down food. And so then you have all these stomach issues, and so that can pose as a problem. So you want to stay somewhere in the middle. And what that simply means is consuming green vegetables, a little less starch and a little more green vegetables in your diet, which I guess some people would consider fiber or something. Um, I think that's all that means to me. Not a big deal, not a big whoop to do. Just consume more green leafy vegetables, because it brings that acid level down within your body. According to the medical journal that was printed out. I think this was 2019. It is stated that um, cancer cannot live in an alkaline body. And so you want to try to alkalize your body as much as possible because it prevents disease.
Yeah, just that simple. And I tell you, we're living in the age of IG and all these different things. There's more health fads birthed on a daily basis, and to see your father's concepts still holding true and now being corroborated by medicine and articles and all these other things, speaks volumes. It's like with the CMOS thing. To be frank with you, it looks very interesting to me. I'm pretty adventurous when it comes to food. Why was CMOS so synonymous with your dad? What were his views on it? How do you feel about it? And is it, because it's like with the alkaline thing, you see people buying cases of alkaline water and, everything. And to hear that he was more practical and, it was about balance and it wasn't this fanaticism, what are your views on CMOS then? And why did it be so closely, synonymous with you guys?
Same thing. When you consume CMOS, it helps to alkalize the body. It helps to
Oh,
neutralize the acid within your body. And so that becomes, one of the most important factors to your healing. Um, and so I guess that's why it became synonymous with him, because he preached the more consumption of CMOS, the less acid your body will have, because again it neutralizes it, and so your body will begin to heal faster. I think a lot of people um, ran with it and didn't. I would say they don't understand the full validity of it. They feel that if you get CMOS anywhere, it's CMOS, and so it works. It does not. There are some specifics.
and just to clarify, what are some of the things that people should be looking for in their CMOS so that they actually get those legitimate effects? Because you see capsules, you see flavored CMOS, and then you're hearing that some of it's being manufactured and it's actually having a negative effect. What are some things that people should be looking for in their CMOS to get the effects that you guys find or deem desirable? All right, well, she gets back on. Let's do that. Melao, you still there?
Yes, still here.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to get into the spiritual aspect of things. Um,
Uh, do you mind? Actually, I wanted to kind of like piggyback off some of the things that Usha was talking about.
yeah, please go ahead.
Um,
Yeah.
she and I, we both we basically do the same thing. Um, so when it comes to cancer, I think that was interesting that you asked that question, because that was one of the last conversations that I had with Sebi.
Oh.
Um, yeah, he so first of all, when it came to healing, I had all these family members that did this, but I actually wasn't interested in it myself. This was something that they did, and it wasn't until later on that I kind of got pushed into the healing field, or herbal therapy, that I became interested in actually learning. So this just so happened to be a random conversation, because whenever Sabi and I were together, we really didn't talk much about healing. Like, he would talk about some of his uh, past experience, just about life, just random stuff. But someone had cancer, and I did actually sat down and asked the question. And one of the things that he told me was that, first of all, he would always say all diseases are caused by mucus. When it comes specifically to cancer, it's toxins and mucus that are basically feeding the cancer cells, right? And on top of that, the acidity of the body, it creates a hospitable environment that the cancer can basically overtake the body's immune system, and the body's immune system is compromised as well. So when it comes to the
Wow.
alkalinity, what we do is basically create a hospitable environment that um, creates it creates an inhospitable environment for the cells to replicate. And then on top of that, with the herbs, what we do is we introduce herbs that help to revitalize the body. So, and it helps to boost the immune system, boost the energy, so the body overtakes the cancer cells. Also, there's one product that we have called 𝗀𝗨. 𝗀𝗨 is a product that breaks down toxins, mucus, and calcification. And what 𝗀𝗨 does is, when it comes to all cancer cells and tumors have this like protective layer around them, and 𝗀𝗨 is one of the compounds that helps to break down that protective layer, and that exposes the cancer cells and the tumors to the immune system, and the immune system begins attacking it, and it starts melting. And when it comes to autism, first of all, yes, cancer, the rate of cancer has greatly increased, especially in this country, and it's due to the standard American diet, because not every other country is experiencing this large influx of rate of cancers. In fact, they've noticed when they start introducing the standard American diet, that's when you start seeing an increase of cancer, you start seeing an increase of diabetes, so on and so forth. A lot of it has to do with the fact that there's sugar in everything. Sugar feeds cancer. In fact, when sugar, the byproduct that's produced when sugar is processed feeds cancer, right? Then cancer grabs that, processes it, and produces another byproduct that goes into the liver that produces something else that basically starts a snowball effect. And so constantly, because there's so much sugar, it's basically creating this environment for cancer to basically snowball. And then when it comes to a lot of nervous issues, not only sugar, because sugar helps to deteriorate the nerves, but also bread. Bread specifically in this country causes nervous issues. So this is the reason why you see a lot of more, this is one of the reasons why you see a lot more autism, because you have to realize the mothers, when the baby is in the womb, they're still eating a lot of these foods, right? So immediately, the mother, I'm really bad with putting stuff in it like a really nice way, because I'm just like so blunt. Basically, the foods that a mother eats when the baby is developing could either help or sabotage the baby, right?
Of course.
And so when you're eating a lot of glutens, a lot of wheat, especially in this country, a lot of sugar, that helps to deteriorate the formation of the brain cells in the baby while it's in the womb.
Well, scary stuff. And you know, when you look at what the Odu Baba Ifa says that in that Odu, Obatala cursed all the white powders, right? And what's scary about them is the majority of them are legal, right? And one of them definitely being sugar. And when we look at the effects it has on the body, especially over the long term, or even during the formation of the brain, or the effects it has on the brain over a lifetime, you're going to realize the less we have of this stuff, the better, especially the non-natural ones, the added ones, all of these different things. And what have you noticed within your practice with fertility as well? Because, you know, a lot of people are trying to have children, and, you know, they haven't even gotten to the stage of conception. So, you know, how detrimental could the sugar and diet be to even trying to conceive, whether it's men or women?
Very. If you look at how I don't know if can I say the S word on this?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't. So if you look at sexual health compared to how we are now, compared to how people were 50 years ago, now we have 20-something-year-olds that are taking Viagra. All right. 50 years ago, you had old people that were like still going at it. My uncle, when was your youngest brother born, Usha? I think he was like 82.
I have 30 brothers and sisters, so
the youngest one, the last one he had.
The last one he had was,
I think it was 82.
The last 82. No, the last one he had was 2015. So
yeah, so he was 82, 83.
Oh, we're talking about his age, 82. I thought we were talking about the year 82. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So basically, this old man was still spitting out kids at 82.
Beautiful.
That's how our that's how men that's how our bodies are still supposed to function. We're still supposed to be viral, or I'm not sure if that's not viral, but we're still supposed to be fertile, even up into our old age. And it's all due to the foods. It is said that here in America we eat more food-like products instead of food itself, and that helps to deteriorate the functions of the body. It basically suffocates the cells. One of the first things I do when somebody has an issue with fertility, again, we take away the sugar. And then also I make sure to incorporate, as Usha was saying, the green leafy vegetables. The green leafy vegetables especially have something called chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll helps to neutralize acids in the body. Also, take away meat. Right now, especially here in the States, the meats are all injected with a lot of these hormones. Those hormones mess with the hormones of your body.
Yeah.
This is the reason why they even have done studies and have shown that people who have a vegan diet or who eat less meat tend to be more fertile.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many other things that could be occurring here subliminally. I mean, why is there such an emphasis on red meat? Why is there so much propaganda? And you see the effects it could have on the body in an unregulated fashion. It's not positive. And it's not that, the occasional steak or whatnot. Obviously, we need variety in the diet. But, you get protein from beans. You get protein from, all these other things, and I don't think there's enough of a variety that's being presented. And you see it from the very beginning with what, kids are served in school, how we're being miseducated. And then you see the effects of it and the accelerated cell death it could create, causing people to not be able to accomplish these goals, whether it's procreating, whether it's having an overall quality of life mentally and emotionally. It's really scary. But, there's a famous quote. It says, eat your food like medicine, or you're going to be eating medicine as food, So what we put in our bodies on a daily basis is very key, having those whole food sources, eating in a regulated fashion, high water intake, the way, the original human beings and ancestors consumed. And then hearing about Dr. Sebi's fertility, I wish I was more surprised. But, when you hear these stories about these older 𝗿𝗏𝗍𝗏, having children in their 80s and 90s, and you look at their diet where they don't incorporate rice and they don't incorporate a bunch of things that even Miss Usha said could be an obstacle towards fertility. People that are Afro-descendant, we're really not shocked by that. But you look at other people around the world, they hear that, they're like, oh, good heavens. But it's actually very, very commonplace. And what's scary is that it's being viewed as less commonplace now because of how rare it's becoming based on what we're eating. So, it's Ifa spoke of all of these things, 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗃 and the 𝗃𝗶𝗸𝗏𝗃 as well as Oshun, not just the men, but the women. I mean, when you look at some of the work that's been published, Ifa says that there's no reason that a woman that's 50, even 50 plus in that area or range can't have a healthy child. It really comes down to what we're putting in our bodies to be able to create it, develop it, maintain it, birth it, and so on and so forth. So, Melao, you're a pretty spiritual guy, and now seeing how, this, other aspect of your background makes it very apparent why you're so health conscious and things like that, and you're influencing in that regard as well. Did you ever have any spiritual conversations with your uncle? Did you consider him a spiritual man?
No. So first of all, that was one of the funny moments that I thought about, like after you had asked that question, was we had the one time that I can say that I really teed him off was when we talked about spirituality. He did not believe in spirituality at all, and so it's kind of interesting. A lot of people put him up to be this like spiritual being, but when he was alive, now it's a little bit different. I'll get into that. When he was alive, he didn't believe in spirit. He wasn't a religious person. Yes, he would quote the Bible, but like he pretty much didn't even believe that spirit existed. So, but however, and I guess this is it's kind of embarrassing for me to talk about it, but I also have to live in my truth, and especially since Usha and my aunts and my other cousins encourage me to be honest and truthful about everything. it was after he had passed, like a couple months after he had passed, his spirit started appearing and talking to me. And I remember even once Usha and I were even, you remember that day, Usha, when we went to there was, they had this bonfire and they started singing, and her dad pops up out of nowhere and actually starts like trying to mount me. And one of the things that
That's
there was
amazing.
something that he kept on saying over and over, and I just did not understand. And so when the feeling went away, Usha grabbed me. She's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I goes, "Your dad." And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Yeah, this." And I told her this. And she goes, "There's a lot you don't know. But yes, this." And um, it I don't know if you can pick it up, but this is so sensitive for me to talk about because in my head he's not dead. He's still alive, like, because I never got that chance to say goodbye. So I've always, so in my head he's still in Honduras, just I haven't been able to call him. But his spirit has been with our family um all through the years. And Usha and I have sat down, we've talked about different experiences that we've had with his spirit coming up. There was even a time that he asked for a misa. We sat down, we did a misa for him. And even, I find it very funny, Usha's mom, sometimes, I remember the first time she did it, she called me, she goes, "Hey, does Sebi have any messages for us?" And I was like, that's not the way it works. Like, you can't just ask questions and all of a sudden he appears. And then he appears. And I'm like, are you serious? Usha's mom, like, she is one of the very few people she can call me and ask me, "Hey, does Sabi's have anything to say, or does Sabi da 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 da?" And homeboy will just appear like that. And I think it's just amazing how their love is so strong, even after death. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to be able to call somebody over the phone and say, "Hey, I need to speak to so and so," and for that spirit to automatically appear. Spiritists know exactly what I'm talking about. It's typically not as easy, but his presence, I guess, because so much was left that wasn't accomplished, that he's still here with us, guiding us, delivering messages, telling us things to do, giving us ideas, pushing us to keep doing the healing work.
Yeah, no, and it speaks volumes of how elevated that spirit is, and also the bond that they shared for sure. Usha, do you consider yourself a spiritual being at this stage? I mean, based on your line of work and just how many people you guys have been able to positively affect, or are you more focused on the scientific aspect of things?
Yeah, Usha.
Yeah, Melao.
Oh man.
um, my spirituality has nothing to do with my business. My
Nice.
spirituality is something that's very personal, not personal in the sense that I can't talk about it, but just something that's very close and very personal to me. It's not about anything that has to do with business or others. If I catch a reading while I'm doing a consultation and I kind of read into someone's energy, I go with it, but I don't. That's not something that I put together. My spirituality is the most important part of me, to me, the most sacred part of me. I don't believe in things the way other people. I don't follow any particular religion or anything of that nature. It's just my connection to source. Um, and I'm able to pick up on certain energies. I get um, little visions of things, and I'm grateful for my connection to
Little,
God in that way.
little.
Yeah, little. Yeah,
Mhm.
little.
No, that's beautiful.
I'm appreciative. Yeah, no, my spiritual side is the most important side of me. Yeah. So I'm definitely spiritual. Yes.
Well, I empathize with you as well because my father's a physician, and just hearing how spiritually elevated he is on the other side, especially with the following, and how many people he affected positively, even though he wasn't necessarily focused on the spiritual aspect of his work. I empathize with you because my father as well, he's a trauma surgeon, and he's a God-fearing man, and we talk about different things and whatnot. But I think when you're in the good fight and you're in the trenches, kind of like them or maybe a combat veteran, right? You don't always have the time to focus on the spiritual aspect of things because you're so focused on getting a tangible result as well. So I understand what his ideology may have been as well. He was focused on helping as many people as possible in the most productive way. So, Melao, what do you think your uncle's legacy? Oh, please go ahead.
To piggyback off something that she said, and
Yeah.
I have to be so grateful that I have family members that are just so supportive of every aspect of who I am. And Usha, I can say, has definitely encouraged me to do that.
Beautiful.
It was a while ago, we did a live with her mom and me on my with her mom and myself on my live, and I confessed that I did this thing where I tried to separate my spirituality in my business. And Usha was like, "What are you doing? No, 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 no. Whenever you're doing your consultations, try to connect. If you're getting messages from spirit,
Yes.
that's going to help you to do your consultations."
Correct.
And this was a conversation we had years ago, but I'm hard headed, so I didn't start applying it until recently. And I remember I was doing this consultation with somebody, it had nothing to do with spirituality, but spirit came in and said, "Listen, their mother died and they're suffering from it. Ask about the mother." And I asked, I was like, "Your mother passed away recently? Did your mother pass away recently?" And they go, "Yeah." And I said, "Tell me about that." And then when we actually started talking, that turned out to be the source of the issues that she was having. She was going through so much grief that she wasn't able to express it. And when it comes to healing, it's not just about herbs, it's also about mental health, it's also about energy. When your mind isn't aligned with your energy, that could actually cause your sickness as well.
Absolutely.
And the grieving was so deep that it was causing her body to deteriorate. And so I said, first of all, you need to see a therapist. Usha and I have always talked about, mental health is very, very important. So a lot of times we will recommend somebody to go to a therapist. And I said, you need to, see a therapist, and then we need to do this, 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 this. And she started seeing counseling, and within 60 days, she no longer had diabetes. She no longer had high blood pressure, because those were the things that were exacerbating the diseases that she had in her body.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about mind, body, soul, all of these are different aspects and counterpoints within this thing we call, a being, right? So it's very important to address all of them. And unfortunately, whether it's our diet or whether it's our lifestyle, a lot of those things get put on the back burner because we're just so busy trying to, pay the taxes. So I agree wholeheartedly. Even within, my Ifa practice, there's certain symptoms that are easily confusable, where you could say, hey, it's a negative spirituality that's causing all of this. But, anybody that's sound and prudent, wants to go through that process of elimination to make sure there's not any medical undertones there that could be causing it as well. So, we agree wholeheartedly. What do you think your uncle's legacy is, or his lasting message was, Melao, before I get Usha's thoughts?
To be honest, I don't really think that he had any lasting thoughts, only because his death was something that was so unexpected. I mean, it just
How did the late doctor pass? Forgive me, I don't know the specifics.
uh, Usha, you tell it nicer.
Or Mrs. Usha, yeah, to as far as his
Yeah, you
story
tell it
goes.
nicer.
Mm-mm. Not today. It's so close to my emotions right now because his birthday was the other day. So
Oh, happy late birthday. No,
So,
I understand completely. And hopefully it
so,
won't be the last interaction. Yeah. But, yeah, it's,
so it was so there's a lot of conspiracy theories about what happened to him, and the
oh,
fact is someone who was supposed to be uh, his protector, somebody who was supposed to always have his back, one of our own family members, basically caused his demise. Somebody came forward and admitted that they created a poison for one of our family members, and we that's when later on he saw that he had passed away, and so basically that family member conspired with another person. I won't mention any names, um, to basically poison him while he was in jail. Uh, when this was told to me, and Usha had mentioned who it was, I said it makes total sense because this wasn't the first time they had tried this. This person had actually um, had so Sebi lived in a house that was it was glass, and there was a big stairs, big long stairs that would go up into his room, and that person had put Vaseline on the rails and also on the steps, so that way when he would come down, he would fall. And so
Lord.
once she had told me this, I go, I believe it because someone else had told me that this person had done this, and then that person was also doing witchcraft at the same time. So sorry, it's just I'm not really good at
No, it's an emotional topic for sure, and very sad. To think somebody at that advanced stage succumbing to that. I think it speaks volumes about his message, though, and that it was trying to be silenced, and that's why we feel so privileged to be able to have people such as you guys who really knew the man, to be able to tell the truth, because it's he's become a folk hero. To a certain degree, he's kind of become like an Odisha. There's people who really follow his doctrine and believe in his message and what he stood for, and are not content with the end of the story as much as they enjoyed the beginning and the middle. So that's why we wanted to make ourselves available on the platform to allow you guys to give an honest account, because you hear so many rumors. No, he was a priest of Osang. No, he was ordained by, God Almighty, all these different things. And to just see that this was a man who was a father, a scientist, an investigator, someone of passion who believed in his ideals to the point where he was able to test them on himself and see the results. That's somebody that can be emulated, somebody that can be admired, because when you dedicate your life to a concept and an idea and you're willing to die for it, I think it speaks the greatest volumes. Miss Usha, um, you know, one of my last questions for you is, what is your father's legacy to you? What do you think his message for the world was based on his actions? As you now carry this flag moving forward with your own practice, and what's next for you as well, Miss?
I think his legacy was his children. He had
Nice.
30 of us. And
Beautiful.
so I think his legacy was his children and the love that he had for his children. Um, a lot of people like to translate it into something business wise, and I don't think it had anything to do with business. I just think it had to do with the love of his family. As to what was one of his number one focal points or number one things that he always said, um, that he left with me particularly, was love. Always give love, no matter what. Always show a person love. In your process of healing, it has to have an element of love, you know? And so I think that was one of his biggest teachings, was that. was to always love your fellow man, to always show kindness, even if kindness isn't been shown to you. Still give that love, because no matter what, that's what the world is all about.
Yeah, I think there is no greater message. I tell you, my only regret is that we didn't start the channel earlier to be able to sit down with a man who sounded like nothing short of a gentleman. So my greatest privilege at this moment is just to be able to still be able to show the message and give it to the people so they can come to their own conclusions and follow it if they see fit, and reap the benefits and results from a sacrifice of a lifetime learning these things to be able to provide the information to the masses, right? Miss Usha, where can people find you and receive your services? Where are you guys located? As far as, are you on social media? What's next for you and your business?
I suck when it comes to the social media factor. Malao is trying to help me get better,
He's good at it.
but I
He's
suck.
doing well.
He's doing a beautiful job. Um, we have several offices, one in West Palm Beach and one here in Brooklyn,
Lovely.
on Baltic. And you can find us at thefigtreebio.com. You can book an appointment for consultation with me at ushas.corner.alkaline.herbs. And we're here. We're more than happy to assist. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So I don't know, pull up Usha's Corner, pull up the fig tree. We're here. We're more than happy to help folks anytime.
Well, we sincerely appreciate you making yourself available and continuing your father's work as you create your own path and your own brand as well. I'd like to thank you for your time and having the
You gotta
strength
put your hand up.
to talk about these things as well. A big thank you to Mr. Melao as well for returning and facilitating these things. Brother, your information will be on the description as well with
Hold
some
on,
words.
hold on. Sorry,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
before we go, um, she forgot to talk about her butterfly retreats. I can't let you leave
Oh,
without
no, we
talking
can't
about your
forget the
butterfly
butterfly
retreats.
retreats. Come on, Usha. Don't hold back on us now.
I can give my information just now, but you, butterfly
But
retreats. Let's go.
Butterfly Retreat is one of my new heart's passion, because I
Lovely.
love combining travel and wellness, and learning about new herbs in different places, and experiencing new journeys of healing. So my next retreat is either going to be Barbados or Turks and Caicos,
Oh, wow.
come around May. So that's when I'll be doing the next retreat. And I will be doing them throughout the whole year.
Oh, those sound lovely. We'll be sure to have your information in the description. A lot of great elements there, some great scenery. If you don't love a butterfly, there's definitely something wrong with you. So you got to get on that retreat, family, for sure. So we appreciate the reminder as well. Phil, what'd you think about this one, friend?
Wow.
Talk about it, right?
Man, that was absolutely a treat. Hold on, Miles got something to say.
So, so if anybody's interested in booking my services for consultation, especially for stuff like cancer, diabetes, weight loss, if you need any help, especially with transitioning to your diet, you can check out my website, www.𝗏𝗶𝗱𝗏.com. I will also be doing events with Usha and also my aunt Pat, and just doing various how do you say, events helping with health and wellness, alkaline herbs.
Nice.
Also, I'm having I have an alkaline electric food show online on my YouTube
Very
channel.
nice. Yeah, we got to get the links to that there for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
think that'll be great. And I think another beautiful element about this conversation is to see how, this gentleman's legacy has unified you guys to continue, on each of your individual fronts. And then, collectively, kind of like the hand concept that Miss Usha had mentioned, it takes 5 fingers to make a hand, and not all of them are the same. They all provide something different. The pinky isn't any lesser than the thumb, even though one might be larger than the other. They do two completely different things. To see you guys as a family, still with the blessing of Miss Pat, and then you guys doing each of your things individually, I could only imagine as a father, if I'm ever in the land of the ancestors, to be looking back and see my family doing the same thing with the same practice, you know, exuding pride and joy. So congratulations to all of you, sincerely.
Thank you.
Well, before we go into the shout outs,
a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, we got to pay some bills. So
yes, sir.
Take a look at this.
Hey, family, it's Joseph Baba Ifa here. How's your car looking lately? Do you want to open the door when you take the kids to school? Are you a little embarrassed to let anybody sit in there? I think it's time to get it detailed. And if you're going to do that, you got to call my guys, Twin Precision Mobile Detailing. Professional, punctual, pristine. These guys are going to make your car look real good. So be sure to check them out because they are Baba approved. Thank you, family.
All
members.
Alrighty. It is time, but seriously, that was an amazing treat of an episode. One of my favorites because,
Awesome.
you know, Dr.Sebi, I even know who that is. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
Like,
No, he's
completely.
definitely
That's
a
been
point of
before I even knew who you were, Joseph.
Yeah,
I knew
of
who
course.
Dr.Sebi was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
so that just shows you the reach that man had with the real world. So
Legend, yeah. for sure.
amazing. Okay, so what we're doing now, we're just showing some love to the channel. Show some love to the channel, to the people who show love to the channel, right?
Awesome.
If you want to join our membership platform, it's real simple. All you have to do is just click on that button below the video. It says join. And we have 3 separate tiers, each tier offering its own separate perks, whether it's extra episodes, early releases to podcast shows, discounts on merch. And speaking of, before we even continue, you got some classes coming up, Joseph.
Absolutely. We got classes. We got some workshops coming up as well. Guys, be on the lookout for the Atlanta workshop. We can't wait to go up there and spend some time with you guys. The one in Orlando was a uber success. So we actually have a special running on right now just for this month to get you in there for a couple less dollars, but it's only for this month as the date approaches. So take full advantage of it as spaces are limited.
Yeah, Atlanta, June 13th and 14th, and New York,
And then
August
we're heading
8th
to New
and
York.
9th.
We're going back home, man. I can't wait. Hit up the deli, talk some Ifa.
I gotta
Good
come with you.
time.
I gotta get me an authentic chopped cheese.
Oh man, we got to go to Hall.
But the 𝗀𝗍𝗃𝗃 way though.
Oh, that he's over there in Brooklyn, but
Okay.
the original chopped cheese was born in Harlem. So we're going to the motherlands.
All right. Okay. So
Nice.
let's show some love. We're gonna go with the supporters today. We're
Lovely.
gonna go with the OG supporters. So these people have been here the longest.
Thank you guys.
So shout out to Melted77.
Great name.
They've been here for 32 months. That's a car payment.
Good heavens.
We've got 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗁𝗃𝗃.
Thank you.
We got 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗃𝗃,
Thank you for staying.
Richie Conga,
Awesome. Shout out to Rich.
8131 Sana. These people have all been here 32 months. So it's
Oh my
crazy.
gosh, yeah, it's years.
Barbara Powers, 1996.
Thank you, Barbara.
Edward Rodriguez.
Very nice.
Ave339.
Okay.
We got Toonsta.
Very nice.
And rounding out that, we got Elizabeth 8927.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, guys, first and foremost, be sure to check the description to be able to connect with Miss Usha or Mr. Melao with any of the services they provide or all the great things they have going on. Lots of great information being relayed there. You know, the membership program is available. If you know somebody that can benefit from it, let them know. A couple closing remarks before we go ahead and disconnect. BotanicaCandlesandMore.com is up and running for all your service and product needs. We do ship. If you can't catch us here on YouTube, be sure to listen to us on any of these major platforms like Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. A big thank you from all of us here at Our Roots Podcast. And until next time, see the light.
Baba Joseph showed the path today. Baba knows the way, we follow the signs. He walks with the Orisha through sacred lines.